The space around the Galactic Council's central stronghold suddenly filled with impossible light. Admiral Wu Jinbei watched from the bridge of the Iron Will as 17 massive structures materialized from the between space. They were the hidden human bases, no longer hiding their phase shift, technology allowing them to appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly. "By all the stars," whispered Navigation Officer So Young Park. "They're beautiful." The bases looked like crystalline cities floating in space, their surfaces covered with equations that moved and shifted like living things. Each one was larger than the Council's biggest space stations, but they seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, their true size impossible to measure. Supreme Commander Zorthak's face appeared on the main screen, his metallic features twisted with rage and fear. "Impossible. Our sensors detected no ships approaching." Captain Hyunwoo Kim's voice came through from New Terra Base. "That's because we didn't approach, Commander. We've been here all along. We just stopped pretending we weren't." From each of the 17 bases, smaller ships began emerging, but these weren't normal spacecraft. They moved in ways that hurt to watch, taking shortcuts through reality itself, appearing and disappearing like thoughts made solid. "Admiral," Communications Officer Min-Jun Park reported, "we're receiving transmission protocols from the bases. They're offering to link our ships into their phase shift network." "Do it," Admiral Bay ordered without hesitation. The moment the connection was made, everything changed. The Iron Will suddenly existed in 17 different dimensions simultaneously. Admiral Bay could see the battle from impossible angles, could sense the quantum structure of every enemy ship, could feel the mathematical foundations of reality itself. "This is what we've become." Daon Song's voice echoed through the linked network. "This is what 50 years of learning the deep math has given us." The human fleet, now enhanced by the base's technology, began to move. But calling it movement was like calling a symphony a noise. The ships danced through spacetime, sliding between dimensions, attacking from directions that didn't exist in normal geometry. Supreme Commander Zorthak watched in horror as his reality anchor fleet tried to target the human vessels. But the anchors couldn't lock onto ships that existed in quantum superposition. Every time they tried to erase a human ship, the universe couldn't decide which version of the ship to erase. "Sir," his tactical officer reported with a shaking voice, "the humans are broadcasting something on all frequencies. It's mathematical formulas. Block the transmission." "We can't, sir." "They're not using normal communication methods. They're writing the equations directly into the quantum foam of spacetime itself. On every council ship, in every base, throughout their entire communication network, the deep math equations began to appear, not as signals or data, but as fundamental changes to reality itself." Communications Officer Ji-Hai Choi spoke from the bridge of the Eternal Dawn. "Captain, I'm broadcasting the complete deep math database on all quantum frequencies. Every species in the galaxy now has access to reality manipulation technology. The Council's monopoly on ultimate power is over," Captain Hyunwoo said. "Now everyone can learn what they tried to keep secret." Across the galaxy, the effect was immediate. Species that had been oppressed by the Council for millennia suddenly found themselves with the power to reshape their own worlds. The equations were self-teaching, adapting to each species' unique understanding of mathematics and physics. "What have you done?" Zorthak roared. "Do you realize what chaos you've unleashed?" "We've given everyone the same choice you had," Admiral Bay replied calmly. "The choice to use power wisely or foolishly. The difference is, we're not going around erasing entire species for making that choice." Dr. Junho Kang's voice joined the communication from one of the bases. "Commander Zorthak, your scientists will tell you that reality is becoming unstable. They're wrong. Reality is becoming free." The battle continued, but it was no longer a battle in any conventional sense. Human ships phased through Council vessels, not destroying them, but transforming them. Weapons became musical instruments. Armor plating turned into flowing silk. Life support systems began growing gardens instead of recycling air. "It's like they're not trying to kill us," a Council captain reported in bewilderment. "They're turning our ships into art." Engineer Haewon Yu smiled as she watched the tactical display. "That's the point. We could erase you from reality just like you did to Earth, but we're choosing something different." But the true shock came when the Council tried to activate their ultimate weapon. All 50 reality anchors synchronized their targeting systems and prepared to erase not just the human fleet, but the entire region of space they occupied. The command was given. The reality anchors fired. Nothing happened. Status report. Zorthak demanded. Sir, the reality anchors are functioning normally, but the equations they're firing are being rewritten in real time. Instead of erasing the target area, they're making it more real. Dr. Kang's laughter echoed through the quantum foam. Did you really think we spent 50 years hiding without learning how your weapons work? Every reality anchor in your fleet is now running on modified deep math equations. What kind of modifications? Instead of making things not exist, they now make things exist more intensely. Every ship, every planet, every star you try to erase will become more real, more solid, more permanent than it was before. The implications hit the Council fleet like a physical blow. Their ultimate weapon had been turned into its opposite. Instead of a tool of destruction, it was now a force of creation and reinforcement. Surrender, Admiral Bay said simply. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Never. Zorthak snarled. The Council has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not be defeated by a species of primitives. Primitives? Captain Hyunwoo's voice carried a note of amusement. Commander, we've just demonstrated that we can rewrite the fundamental laws of physics in real time, phase our entire civilization in and out of reality, and turn your ultimate weapon into a tool of creation. What exactly makes us primitive? The answer came not from Zorthak, but from other voices across the Council fleet. Captains and crew members who had watched their weapons turn into art, their ships become things of beauty instead of war. Enough, said Captain Veltar from his cruiser. This madness ends now. You dare defy the Supreme Commander? Zorthak demanded. I dare to recognize when we've been beaten, Veltar replied. These humans could have erased us all. Instead, they chose to show us something we've forgotten in 10,000 years of ruling through fear. And what's that? Mercy. One by one, Council ships began powering down their weapons. Not because they were forced to, but because their crews chose to. Across the galaxy, species that had just learned the deep math were making the same choice, using their new power to create rather than destroy. Supreme Commander Zorthak found himself alone on his flagship, his fleet having abandoned him not through force but through a change of heart. This isn't over, he transmitted to the human fleet. The Council has other fleets, other weapons. No, Dayun Song replied gently. It is over. Because now everyone knows what you tried to keep secret. The power to reshape reality isn't dangerous because it exists. It's dangerous because people like you tried to control it. The last of the Council ships powered down their weapons. The battle for the galaxy had ended not with destruction, but with transformation. But even as Admiral Bay coordinated the peaceful occupation of the Council stronghold, he knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had crossed the line the Council had drawn around reality itself. Now they had to help the entire galaxy learn to live in a universe where the old rules no longer applied. The age of galactic empires was ending. The age of universal possibility was about to begin. And at the center of it all, the 17 human bases continued to broadcast their message into the quantum foam of space-time. Not a warning this time, but an invitation. The line was never meant to contain us. It was meant to be crossed. Haven's rest station hung in space like a giant metal flower. Its 5 arms stretched out from a central hub, each one housing different alien species. The station was neutral ground, where diplomats and traders from across the galaxy could meet safely. Captain Hyunwoo Kim walked through the main corridor with his diplomatic officer, Min-ho Yoon. Behind them, Security Chief Yoonji Nam stayed alert, watching for any signs of trouble. The corridor buzzed with activity as dozens of alien species went about their business. Remember, Min-ho said quietly, Counselor Veltar is one of the more reasonable members of the Galactic Council. But that doesn't mean he'll tell us everything, Hyunwoo nodded. He had spent the 3-day journey to Haven's Rest preparing for this meeting. The crew had researched everything they could find about the Galactic Council and the reality anchor. Most of the information was classified or heavily censored. They entered a large meeting room with a round table in the center. Counselor Veltar was already waiting. He was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 arms. His large eyes studied the humans as they sat down. Captain Kim, Veltar said in perfect English, I must admit I was surprised to receive your request for a meeting. Few humans have contacted the Council since Earth's departure. Departure? Yoonji said sharply. Is that what you call genocide? Veltar's expression didn't change. I call it necessity, Chief Nam. Your species posed a threat to the entire universe. Minho leaned forward. Counselor, we're here to understand what happened. Our people deserve to know the truth about their homeworld. The truth. Veltar was quiet for a moment. Very well. I will tell you what I can. 53 years ago, Earth scientists made a discovery. They found mathematical equations that could alter the fundamental structure of reality itself. The deep math, Hyunwoo said. Yes. At first, they used it for small experiments, moving objects without touching them, creating energy from nothing, healing injuries instantly. The application seemed endless. Veltar stood and walked to a wall display. With a gesture, he showed images of Earth from space, cities glowing with lights, ships moving between the planets. But then your scientists went further. They began to experiment with space and time. They created pocket dimensions. They bent gravity to their will. Some even claimed they could bring the dead back to life. The images changed to show laboratories with strange equipment, humans in white coats working with machinery that seemed to twist the light around it. The Council's science division became concerned, Veltar continued. We sent observers to monitor Earth's progress. What we found terrified us. What did you find? Minho asked. Your people were not content to master the deep math. They wanted to improve it. They began creating new equations, more powerful than anything we had seen. Our scientists calculated that if these experiments continued, they could tear holes in reality itself. Yoonji crossed her arms. So you decided to kill them all instead of trying to help them control it? Veltar turned back to face them. Chief Nam, you misunderstand the scale of the threat. The deep math doesn't just affect one planet or one solar system. If reality becomes unstable, it spreads like a disease. Stars collapse. Planets disappear. Entire species cease to exist. How do you know? Hyunwoo asked. Have you seen this happen before? The counselor hesitated. Yes. 3 times in galactic history, species have discovered the deep math. The first time we tried to contain them, half a galaxy died before we could stop the spread. The second time we tried to negotiate. They agreed to limit their experiments, but secretly continued their research. When reality collapsed in their region, we lost over 1,000 inhabited worlds. The room fell silent. Hyunwoo looked at his officers. He could see them trying to process this information. The third time? Minho asked. The third time we acted immediately. 1 planet, 1 species gone in an instant. No spread, no galactic catastrophe. The universe remained stable. And Earth was the 4th time, Hyunwoo said. Earth was different, Veltar admitted. Your species learned the deep math faster than any previous civilization. In just 5 years, you progressed further than others had in centuries. Our scientists projected that you would discover the most dangerous equations within months. Yoonji leaned back in her chair. So you used this reality anchor to erase our entire solar system. The reality anchor is the Council's ultimate weapon, Veltar explained. It doesn't destroy matter or energy. It simply makes things not exist, as if they never were. It's clean, instant, merciful. Merciful? Hyunwoo's voice was cold. You erased billions of people. I erased billions to save trillions, Veltar replied. That is the burden of leadership, Captain. Sometimes we must make terrible choices for the greater good. Minho pulled out a data tablet. Counselor, our records show that Earth sent several messages to the Council in the months before they disappeared. Messages requesting dialogue, offering to share their research. Why didn't you respond? Veltar looked uncomfortable. The Council debated those messages for weeks. Some members wanted to attempt communication. Others argued that any delay was too dangerous. And which side won? Yoonji asked. The cautious side. It always does. Hyunwoo stood up. So our people tried to reach out. They offered cooperation, and you responded by erasing them from existence. Captain, you must understand. I understand perfectly. Hyunwoo interrupted. You were afraid. So afraid that you committed genocide rather than take any risk. Veltar's 4 arms gestured in what might have been frustration. Fear, yes, we were afraid. We had seen entire regions of space collapse into nothing. We had watched civilizations die because reality itself became unstable. That fear saved the galaxy. No, Yoonji said, standing as well. That fear made you murderers. The counselor was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke more softly. Perhaps. But if you had seen what we have seen, you might have made the same choice. Minho gathered his notes. Counselor, one more question. Are there any other humans who survived? Any who escaped Earth before the reality anchor was used? Veltar's expression changed slightly. Just for a moment, Hyunwoo thought he saw something like guilt in the alien's large eyes. According to our records, no humans escaped Earth's solar system, Veltar said carefully. According to your records, Yoonji repeated. That's an interesting way to phrase it. It is the only information I can provide. Hyunwoo studied the counselor's face. There was something there. Something Veltar wasn't saying. Thank you for your time, Hyunwoo said finally. We'll be leaving now. As they walked back through the station's corridors, Minho spoke quietly. He's hiding something. Definitely, Yoonji agreed. Did you see his expression when you asked about survivors? Hyunwoo nodded. He knows something. The question is, how do we find out what? They were almost back to their ship when a figure stepped out of the shadows near the docking bay. It was a human woman with short black hair and sharp features. She looked to be in her 40s, wearing the simple clothes of a station worker. Captain Kim, she said quietly. Yes? My name is Da-Yoon Song. I need to speak with you privately. Yoonji moved closer to the woman. About what? Da-Yoon looked around carefully, then leaned closer. About the humans who didn't die when Earth disappeared. About the ones who learned to hide from the reality anchor. About the ones who are still out there waiting. Hyunwoo felt his heart race. What are you talking about? Not here, Da-Yoon said. Too many eyes and ears. Meet me in Docking Bay 7 in 1 hour. Come alone. Before any of them could respond, she melted back into the crowd of station workers and disappeared. Minho looked at Hyunwoo. Sir, this could be a trap. Maybe, Hyunwoo replied. But if there really are survivors out there, then everything changes, Yoonji finished. As they walked back to their ship, Hyunwoo's mind raced. Veltar had been hiding something. This woman claimed to know about human survivors, and somewhere out there, the reality anchor still existed, ready to erase anyone else who crossed the line. But if humans had found a way to hide from the ultimate weapon, if they had survived and learned from Earth's destruction, then maybe the galaxy's most feared civilization wasn't as extinct as everyone believed. Maybe it was just waiting for the right moment to remind the Galactic Council what it meant to cross the wrong species. Captain Hyunwoo Kim walked alone through the dimly lit corridors of Haven's Rest Station. Docking Bay 7 was in the oldest section, where few people went after working hours. His footsteps echoed off the metal walls as he made his way deeper into the station. He found Da-Yoon Song waiting beside a small cargo ship. She was checking a handheld scanner, watching for anyone who might be following them. Captain, she said without looking up, thank you for coming. You said there were survivors, Hyunwoo replied. I need to know if that's true. Da-Yoon put away her scanner and looked at him directly. It's true. But first I need to know something about you. When Earth disappeared, where were you? New Sol Colony. I was 15 years old. Do you remember the last message from Earth? The official one that all the colonies received? Hyunwoo thought back. It was a routine supply schedule update. Nothing unusual. That's right. But there was another message. One that only a few people received. Da-Yoon pulled out a small device. My father was Dr. Song Min-jun, one of Earth's leading experts on the deep math. 3 days before Earth disappeared, he sent this to certain colony worlds. She pressed a button. A hologram appeared showing an older man with kind eyes and graying hair. The message was short. If you are receiving this, then Earth is gone, the recorded Dr. Song said. The Galactic Council has decided we are too dangerous to exist. But we have found a way to survive. Follow the mathematical coordinates attached to this message. Find the others. Remember that humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt. The hologram faded. Hyunwoo stared at the space where it had been. Your father knew what was going to happen. Some of Earth's scientists figured it out, Da-Yoon explained. They noticed council ships watching the solar system. They intercepted communications about something called the reality anchor, so they prepared. How do you prepare for having your entire solar system erased? Da-Yoon smiled grimly. You learn to exist between the cracks. Come with me. I'll show you. She led him onto her cargo ship. It looked ordinary from the outside, but inside, Hyunwoo saw equipment he didn't recognize. Strange machines with curved lines that seemed to bend the light around them. This ship runs on deep math technology, Da-Yoon explained. We call it phase shifting. The ship exists slightly outside normal reality. Most sensors can't detect us when we're running silent. She started the ship and they lifted off from the station. Once they were in open space, Dayun activated something on her control panel. The stars outside seemed to shimmer and change. "Where are we going?" Hyunwoo asked, to meet the others. "But first, let me explain what happened 50 years ago." As the ship traveled through space, Dayun told him the story. When Earth scientists realized the Council was planning to destroy them, they worked frantically on a solution. They couldn't stop the reality anchor, but they found a way to slip through its effects. The reality anchor erases things by cutting their connection to normal space-time, she explained. But the deep math equations my father and his team developed allowed them to step slightly outside normal reality. When the anchor fired, part of Earth's population was already existing in what we call the between space. How many people? About 50,000. Scientists, their families, volunteers who were willing to risk the experimental transportation. They scattered to hidden bases throughout the galaxy. The ship suddenly dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Outside the windows, Hyunwoo saw what looked like empty space. But Daeun pressed another control, and suddenly a massive space station appeared. "Phase shifted," she said. "Hidden in the between space. This is New Terra Base." As they docked, Hyunwoo marveled at the size of the station. It was enormous, easily capable of housing thousands of people. But according to every sensor in normal space, it simply didn't exist. Damyan led him through corridors filled with humans. Men and women of all ages, working on projects he couldn't begin to understand. Children played in gardens that seemed to exist in impossible spaces, where the walls curved in directions that hurt to think about. "Welcome to humanity's secret," Dayun said. They entered a large laboratory where a man in his 60s was working over a table covered with equations. The formulas seemed to move and shift even as Hyunwoo watched them. "Dr. Junho Kang," Dayun said. "I'd like you to meet Captain Kim." Dr. Kang looked up and smiled. "Captain Kim, we've been monitoring your ship since you left Earth's coordinates. Quite brave of you to confront the Council directly." "You were watching us?" "We watch everything," Dr. Kang said. "We have to. The Council still hunts for survivors. Every few years they send ships to investigate reports of human activity." Hyunwoo looked around the laboratory. "What are you working on here?" "Improvements to the deep math," Dr. Kang replied. "The equations that saved us 50 years ago were just the beginning. We've spent 5 decades perfecting them." He gestured to the moving equations on his table. "This formula allows us to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. This one lets us communicate instantly across any distance. And this one," he paused, his expression becoming serious. "This one allows us to do what the Council feared most. We can rewrite the basic rules of reality." "Show him," Dayun said. Dr. Kang picked up a piece of metal from his table. It was twisted and broken, clearly damaged. He placed his hand over it and spoke a complex equation aloud. The metal began to change. The breaks sealed themselves. The twists straightened. Within seconds, it was perfect again. "We can heal any injury, repair any damage, even bring back the recently dead," Dr. Kang explained. "The Council was right to fear this power. In the wrong hands, it could destroy everything. But not in your hands. We've learned wisdom the hard way," Daeun said. "We've seen what happens when the Council decides you're too dangerous. So we've been very careful." Dr. Kang led them to another section of the laboratory. Here, dozens of people worked on what looked like weapons, but unlike any weapons Hyunwoo had ever seen. "We call them reality cannons," Dr. Kang explained. "They don't fire energy or matter. They fire mathematical equations that can alter whatever they hit." "Alter how?" "A ship hit by one of these might suddenly discover that its hull is made of gas instead of metal, or that its engines exist in a different dimension from the rest of the ship. The possibilities are endless." Hyunwoo felt a chill. "You're talking about weapons that can change the fundamental nature of reality. The same power the Council uses," Daeun said. "The reality anchor is just a very large, very crude version of this technology." They continued the tour, and Hyunwoo saw wonders and horrors that challenged everything he thought he knew about the universe. Humans who had learned to exist as pure thought, machines that could create matter from nothing, gardens growing in spaces that folded back on themselves. "How many bases like this are there?" he asked. 17, Dr. Kang replied. "Each one hidden in the between space, each one working on different aspects of the deep math. We have perhaps 200,000 people total." 2. 100,000 survivors of a species that numbered in the billions. Yes, but we're not just survivors anymore, Captain. We're something new. Something the galaxy has never seen before. They entered a communication center where several technicians monitored screens showing activity throughout the galaxy. One of them, a young woman, looked up as they approached. Dr. Kang, we're receiving reports from our watchers. The Council is mobilizing their fleet. They know the humans are asking questions. Dr. Kang's expression darkened. How long do we have? Maybe a week before they start systematic searches of human colony worlds. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. They're going to attack the colonies. Not attack, Dolan said grimly. Erase. Just like they did to Earth. They can't risk news of the survivors spreading. We have to warn them, Hyunwoo said. Warning won't be enough, Dr. Kang replied. The reality anchor can erase a planet from billions of kilometers away. By the time the colonies see it coming, it will be too late. Then what do we do? Dr. Kang and Dawoon exchanged glances. Some unspoken communication passed between them. We've been preparing for this day for 50 years, Dr. Kang said finally. The day when the Council would discover us and try to finish what they started. And we're ready to show them what happens when you try to erase a species that has learned to exist between reality and dreams. Da-eun activated a communication system. Send the signal to all bases, she said. Operation Deep Strike is now active. Across the galaxy, hidden in the spaces between dimensions, 200,000 human survivors received the message. After 50 years of hiding, of learning, of growing stronger in secret, they were finally ready to remind the universe why the Galactic Council had been so afraid of humanity in the first place. The war for reality itself was about to begin. Admiral Wu Jinbei stood on the bridge of the battleship Iron Will as emergency messages flooded in from across the galaxy. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his crew could see the tension in his shoulders. After 30 years commanding human colonial defense forces, he had never faced anything like this. Report, he ordered. Captain Hyunwoo Kim's voice came through the communication system from New Terra Base. Admiral, the Council has declared all humans a Class X extinction threat. They're mobilizing the Reality Anchor fleet. How many ships? Intelligence reports at least 50 Anchor-class vessels plus support fleets. They're moving toward every major human colony world. Admiral Bay closed his eyes briefly. 50 reality anchors, each one capable of erasing an entire solar system from existence. The human colonies had maybe 100 warships total, and conventional weapons were useless against technology that could rewrite the laws of physics. What's our timeline? He asked. 72 hours before the first anchor reaches New Sol. Maybe less. On the main screen, tactical displays showed the positions of human colony worlds and approaching Council fleets. Red markers indicated imminent threats. There were too many red markers. Chief Engineer Hae-Won Yu looked up from her station. Admiral, I've been working with the deep math equations that Dr. Kang provided. I think I can modify our weapon systems. Explain. Instead of firing energy bolts, we could fire mathematical formulas. Reality-altering equations that would make enemy ships forget how to exist in normal space. Admiral Bay turned to face her. Hae-Won was brilliant, but she was talking about technology that had gotten Earth erased from existence. Is it safe? Nothing about this situation is safe, sir. But it's our only chance. Communications Officer Min-Jun Park spoke up from his station. Admiral, incoming message from the Galactic Council. Supreme Commander Zorthak wants to speak with you. Put him on screen. The display changed to show an alien with metallic blue skin and glowing red eyes. Supreme Commander Zorthak was the Council's military leader, known throughout the galaxy for his ruthless efficiency. Admiral Bay, Zorthak said in a voice like grinding metal, you will order all human ships to power down their weapons and surrender immediately. On what authority? Admiral Bay replied, on the authority of the Galactic Council's extinction protocol. Your species has been reclassified as a universal threat. You have 1 hour to comply, and if we don't, then you will share the fate of your homeworld. Every human colony, every human ship, every trace of your species will be erased from reality. You will become nothing more than a cautionary tale. The connection ended. The bridge fell silent. Sir, Min-Jun said quietly, colony worlds are reporting panic. Civilian ships are trying to evacuate, but there's nowhere to run. The Council has ships positioned at every major hyperspace route. Admiral Bay looked at the tactical display again. Millions of human civilians on dozens of worlds, all about to be erased because their species had dared to learn too much. Hey, One, how long to modify our weapons? 6 hours minimum, sir. We don't have 6 hours. The engineer's face was grim. Then we fight with what we have. Admiral, a new voice said. Daeyun Song appeared on the communication screen from New Terra Base. We're transmitting deep math defense protocols to all colonial fleets. It won't make you invisible like our ships, but it should provide some protection against reality anchors. Some protection? The equations will create quantum uncertainty fields around your ships. When the anchors try to erase you, there's a chance the universe won't be sure if you exist or not. Maybe 50-50 odds of survival. Admiral Bay almost laughed. 50-50 odds against weapons that could erase solar systems, but it was better than nothing. Do it, he ordered. Across the human colonial fleet, ships began implementing the deep math defense protocols. Reality shimmered around the vessels as they partially slipped into the between space. It felt strange to the crews, like existing in a dream where nothing was quite solid. Admiral, Dr. Kang's voice came through from the base. There's something else. We've been monitoring Council communications. They're not just planning to erase current human settlements. What do you mean? They're going to use the reality anchors to erase humanity from history itself. Every trace that humans ever existed, every planet we ever visited, every alien species we ever made contact with will forget we were ever real. The implications hit Admiral Bay like a physical blow. Not just genocide, but temporal erasure, as if humanity had never existed at all. Can they do that? The deep math equations suggest it's possible. They would need to coordinate all 50 reality anchors in a galaxy-wide resonance pattern. But yes, they could remove humanity from the timeline itself. Hei-Wan looked up from her workstation. Sir, if they're planning something that massive, they'll need time to coordinate. Maybe we can disrupt them before they're ready. How? She smiled grimly. By doing what humans do best. Causing chaos. Admiral Bay opened a fleet-wide communication channel. All ships, this is Admiral Bay. You've all heard the situation. The Council wants to erase us from existence. They think we're too dangerous to exist. He paused, looking around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Good people. Brave people. People who deserved better than extinction. Maybe they're right, he continued. Maybe we are too dangerous. Maybe a species that can rewrite reality should frighten them. Today we're going to show them exactly how dangerous humans can be when we stop trying to be nice. The fleet began to move. 50 human warships against thousands of Council vessels and 50 reality anchors. On paper it was hopeless. But the humans weren't fighting on paper anymore. As the first reality anchor fleet approached New Sol, something unexpected happened. The Council ships found themselves unable to lock onto their targets. The human ships existed in quantum uncertainty, flickering in and out of reality too quickly for the anchors to fix on them. Impossible, Supreme Commander Zorthak muttered as he watched the tactical display. No species has ever developed defenses against reality anchors. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the human ships are firing something at us. Not energy weapons. Something else. What kind of something else? I don't know, sir. But the cruiser Sharpblade just changed. Its hull is now made of crystallized music. The crew is reporting that their gravity generators are playing symphonies instead of creating artificial gravity. Zorthak stared at the report. Crystallized music? Playing symphonies? What kind of weapons did that? Across the battle zone, human ships fired salvos of pure mathematics at their enemies. Council vessels found their weapons transformed into flower gardens. Their shields became transparent windows. Their engines began singing ancient Earth lullabies instead of providing thrust. Admiral, Hei-Wan reported with amazement, it's working. The reality cannons are completely disrupting their formations. Half their fleet is dealing with equipment that's been transformed into art projects. But the victory was temporary. The Council had numbers, and some of their ships were managing to adapt to the chaos. Worse, the reality anchors themselves remained largely unaffected by the mathematical attacks. Sir, Minjun called out, urgent message from Dr. Kang. The scientist's face appeared on screen, excitement clear in his expression. Admiral, we've been analyzing the Council's reality anchor network. We think we've found a weakness. Tell me. The anchors are all connected through quantum entanglement. They share targeting data instantaneously across any distance. But that connection works both ways. Admiral Bay began to understand. You're saying we could send something back through their own network? Exactly. If we could get close enough to one reality anchor, we could inject a virus into their entire system. Not a computer virus, a mathematical virus, an equation that would make their weapons forget how to erase things. How close is close enough? Dr. Kang's expression became serious. Physical contact. Someone would have to touch their ship with a device carrying the virus equation. It was a suicide mission. Reality anchors were massive vessels, heavily shielded and surrounded by escort fleets. Getting close enough to touch one would be impossible for any normal ship. I'll do it, Admiral Bay said simply. Sir. Several voices protested at once. I'm the senior officer present. This is my responsibility. Hei-Wan stood up from her station. Admiral, with respect, you're needed to coordinate the fleet. Let me take a fighter with the virus device. Engineer you. Sir, I'm the only one who fully understands the deep math equations. If something goes wrong with the device, I'm the only one who might be able to fix it in flight. Admiral Bay looked at the young woman. She was brilliant, brave, and probably their only hope, but sending her on a suicide mission felt like another kind of defeat. There might be another way. Dayun's voice cut in. We've been preparing a surprise for the Council. Something we've been working on for 50 years. What kind of surprise? The kind that shows them what humanity looks like when we stop hiding and start fighting back. On the communication screen, Dayun smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Admiral, prepare your fleet for phase transition. In 10 minutes, you're going to see exactly why the Galactic Council was so afraid of humans in the first place. Captain Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Eternal Dawn, staring at the empty space ahead. His dark eyes showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the rail tighter than usual. After 50 years of searching, they had finally found Earth's location. Or rather, they had found where Earth should be. Report, Hyunwoo said to his crew. Navigator So Young Park checked her instruments again. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. Captain, the coordinates are correct. This is definitely where Earth's solar system should be. But there's nothing here. Hyunwoo walked closer to the main screen. The display showed only black space with distant stars. No sun, no planets, no moon, not even space dust or rocks. It was as if someone had taken a giant spoon and scooped out everything that once existed here. Define nothing, Hyunwoo said. I mean nothing, sir, So Young replied. My sensors can't find any matter at all. No radiation signatures, no gravity wells. It's like a perfect empty sphere of space about 10 billion kilometers wide. Chief Engineer Taemin Lee looked up from his station. His young face was pale. Captain, that's impossible. Even if every planet was destroyed, we should see debris. Gas clouds. Something. You can't just make an entire solar system disappear. Communications Officer Ji-Hai Choi suddenly straightened in her chair. Sir, I'm picking up a transmission. From where? Hyunwoo asked. That's the strange part. It's coming from the center of the empty zone, right where Earth's sun should be. Hyunwoo felt his heart beat faster. Put it on speakers. The bridge filled with static for a moment. Then a voice spoke in clear English. It was mechanical, like a computer recording. The words were cold and final. Warning, warning, you have entered a restricted zone. The inhabitants of this system crossed the line. They paid the price. You will pay the price of crossing the line. This message will repeat. Silence fell over the bridge. Then the message started again, word for word. So Young turned to face the captain. Sir, that message is broadcasting on all frequencies. It's been repeating for, according to the signal analysis, about 50 years. 50 years. That matched perfectly with when Earth stopped sending messages to the colonies. Hyunwoo had been just a child then, living on the colony world of New Seoul. He remembered the day when the regular supply ships from Earth simply stopped coming. No explanation. No final message. Just silence. Can you trace the source? Hyunwoo asked Ji-Hai. Working on it, sir. Her hands moved over her controls. The signal is coming from a small object at the exact center of the empty zone. It's artificial. Looks like some kind of beacon. Taemin stood up from his engineering station. Captain, with your permission, I'd like to scan that beacon more closely. Maybe we can learn what happened here. Hyunwoo nodded. Do it. But keep us at a safe distance. The next hour passed slowly. The crew worked in near silence, running every scan they could think of. The results were always the same. Empty space where a solar system should be. And that repeating message. Security Chief Yoonji Nam joined them on the bridge. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and quick movements. "Captain, I've been thinking about that message. Crossed the line and paid the price. It sounds like punishment." "Punishment for what?" So Young asked. "That's what we need to find out," Hyunwoo said. Ji-hai looked up from her station. "Sir, I've been analyzing the beacon. It's not human technology. The materials and construction methods are completely unknown, but the message is definitely in human languages. English, Korean, Chinese, Spanish, and 12 others. So someone else built this beacon but made sure humans could understand the message," Taemin said. Hyunwoo walked to the center of the bridge. Around him, his crew continued their work. These were good people. He had served with most of them for years. They trusted him to make the right decisions. But what was the right decision here? Earth was gone. Not destroyed, that would leave evidence. It was simply erased as if it had never existed. Someone or something had the power to remove an entire solar system from reality, and they had left a warning message in human languages. "Captain," Yoonji said quietly, "we should consider the possibility that this is a trap." "Explain." "Think about it. Earth disappears 50 years ago. Now we show up looking for it, and we find this convenient beacon with a message just for us. Maybe someone wanted us to find this." Hyunwoo considered this. It was possible. But why would anyone want to trap a single human exploration ship? The Eternal Dawn was well armed, but it was just one vessel. If someone could erase entire solar systems, they wouldn't need tricks to deal with one ship. "Sir," So-young said, "I'm detecting another ship approaching. It's not human." On the main screen, a vessel appeared. It was sleek and silver, with curves that hurt to look at directly. Definitely alien design. "Are they hostile?" Hyunwoo asked. "No weapons charged," Yoonji reported. "They're sending a communication request." "Accept it." The screen changed to show an alien face. It had large black eyes and pale blue skin. When it spoke, the words were translated by the ship's computer. "Human vessel, I am Captain Mordan of the ship Silver Wind. We received your scans of the beacon. You should not be here." "This was our home system," Hyunwoo replied. "We have every right to be here." The alien's expression changed slightly. "Your home system was removed by order of the Galactic Council 50 years ago. The species that lived here violated the fundamental laws of reality. They were deemed too dangerous to exist." The words hit the bridge like a physical blow. Taemin sat down heavily in his chair. Ji-hai's hands stopped moving over her controls. "Too dangerous?" Hyunwoo asked. His voice stayed calm, but inside he felt cold anger building. The humans of Earth discovered something they should not have discovered. They began experiments that threatened the stability of the universe itself. The Council had no choice but to act. And what exactly did they discover? Mordan hesitated. "That information is classified. But I will tell you this much, human captain. Your people found a way to change the basic rules of reality. They called it the deep math. The Council's scientists determined that if this knowledge spread, it could unravel the fabric of space and time." The bridge was completely silent now. Even the normal sounds of the ship seemed muted. "So you killed them all," Hyunwoo said. "We removed the threat. The reality anchor erased your entire solar system from existence. No suffering, no pain. One moment they existed, the next they did not." Hyunwoo looked at his crew. He saw shock, grief, and growing anger on their faces. These people had families on Earth, friends, lovers. All gone, erased like they never existed. "Captain Mordan," Hyunwoo said carefully, "thank you for the information. We'll be leaving now. A wise choice. Do not return to this place." The alien ship turned and jumped to faster than light speed, disappearing in seconds. Hyunwoo turned to his crew. "Plot a course for Haven's rest station. We need to learn more about this Galactic Council." As the Eternal Dawn turned away from the empty space that once held Earth, the beacon continued its endless message. "You will pay the price of crossing the line." The work began immediately. Taekyung Shin and his engineering team swarmed through the Indomitable like ants, identifying which sections could be separated and still function independently. The plan was madness, but it was the kind of madness that might actually work. "The cargo bays can definitely be separated," Taekyung reported to Captain Minho. "Each one has its own life support and power grid. If we add small maneuvering thrusters, what about the fusion reactor?" Yoonji asked. "Can we split it safely?" "Not safely, no," Taekyung admitted. "But we can divide it into smaller units. Each section will have enough power for basic operations and short-range flight. As the human crew worked frantically to prepare their ship for destruction, something unexpected happened. Valari engineers began arriving on small shuttles offering to help. "We know mining equipment," explained Krethex, a young Valari who seemed to be about Changmin's age. "We can help modify your ship sections." Changmin stared at the alien in wonder. Krethex's crystalline plates were a beautiful blue-green color, and when he moved, light seemed to dance across his surface. Despite the species difference, there was something immediately likable about him. "Can you understand our technical specifications?" Changmin asked. Krethex made a sound that might have been laughter. "Metal is metal. Power is power. We may look different, but engineering follows the same rules for everyone." They worked together, human and Valari side by side, sharing tools and ideas despite the language barrier. Changmin found that pointing and demonstrating worked better than words most of the time. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Minho was dealing with an unexpected problem. Long-range sensors had detected ships approaching the system. "Captain," Jamin reported, "I am picking up energy signatures consistent with Threnody vessels. 5 ships, military configuration. Are they coming to help?" Minho asked hopefully. Yun Wu, who was monitoring alien communications, shook his head grimly. "No, sir, I am intercepting their transmissions. They are here to observe and record what they call the human anomaly." "They want to study us?" Hanji asked. "Worse than that," Hyunwoo replied. "They expect us to fail. They want to analyze the wreckage afterward to understand what made humans attempt something so impossible." Minho felt anger burning in his chest. The Threnody had abandoned their allies and now wanted to watch humans die trying to save them. It was the kind of cold calculation that made his skin crawl. "Let them watch," he said grimly. "Maybe they will learn something." Down in the ship's medical bay, Dr. Sujin Kang was making her own discoveries. Several injured Valari had been brought aboard, victims of equipment failures caused by the increasing solar radiation. "Their biology is more compatible with ours than I expected," she reported to Minho. "They breathe a nitrogen-oxygen mix similar to our atmosphere. Their body chemistry responds to some of our basic medical treatments." "That is good news," Minho replied. "Can they survive in our emergency shelters?" "Yes, but there is something else," Sujin said, her voice filled with wonder. "Captain, their crystalline plates are not just protective armor. They are somehow connected to their nervous system. When I treat their injuries with compassion and care, the crystals actually glow brighter." "What does that mean?" "I think their emotional state affects their physical structure. The more hope and gratitude they feel, the stronger they become." This information reached Yunji at exactly the right moment. She had been struggling with power calculations for the evacuation pods, trying to figure out how to make the reactor fragments provide enough energy for all the separated ship sections. "Wait," she said suddenly. "If Valari biology is quantum crystalline, and their emotional state affects their physical structure..." She ran to her computer and began entering new equations. What she found made her heart race. "Captain," she called excitedly, "I think I understand something incredible. The Valari are not just passengers. They might be able to help power the evacuation." "How is that possible?" "Their crystalline biology appears to have quantum properties," Yunji explained rapidly. "When they experience strong positive emotions, gratitude, hope, determination, their bodies generate energy fields that could supplement our power systems." Minho stared at her. "Are you saying that the more we help them, the stronger they become? And the stronger they become, the more they can help us?" "Exactly. It is a feedback loop. Human compassion strengthens Valari crystals, which generates energy, which makes rescue more possible, which increases hope, which strengthens the crystals even more." It sounded impossible, but then again, so did everything else they were attempting. The evacuation began with the first ship section, Cargo Bay Alpha, now equipped with its own thruster system and carrying 45,000 Valari refugees. Donghyun Ryu, normally the ship's shuttle pilot, volunteered to fly the makeshift vessel. "Bay Alpha away," he reported as the converted cargo section separated from the main ship. "All systems stable. The passengers are glowing." It was true. The Valari refugees were literally glowing with bioluminescent light, their crystalline plates shimmering with energy. Their gratitude and amazement at being rescued was visible in their very bodies. "Donghyun," Yunji called excitedly. "Check your power readings." "This cannot be right," Donghyun replied. "My energy output is 150% of normal. The reactor fragment should not be able to produce this much power. It is the passengers, Yunji explained. Their quantum crystalline structure is resonating with your power systems. They are not just passengers, they are helping to fly the ship. Back on the station, Vexhai watched in amazement as humans and Valari worked together to load more refugees. Your people are remarkable, he told Minho over the communication link. We have never seen such determination. Your people are pretty remarkable too, Minho replied. They are literally helping to power their own rescue. As the second evacuation pod launched, carrying another 45,000 refugees, something even stranger happened. The dying star's radiation, which had been interfering with ship systems, began to have less effect on the human Valari vessels. It is like the universe is bending to help us, whispered Miran Cho, who was coordinating the loading operations. Maybe it is, Changmin said as he helped Krithek secure cargo restraints. The young Valari had become his constant companion, and together they had solved engineering problems that should have been impossible. By the fourth evacuation pod, the Threnody observers were broadcasting confused reports back to their empire. The primitive human vessels were not only surviving conditions that should have destroyed them, they were actually performing better than the laws of physics said they should. The human emotional resonance is affecting local space-time, one Threnody scientist reported. Their determination to save lives appears to be creating quantum tunnels through normal reality. That is impossible, came the reply from the Threnody flagship. Yes, sir. Completely impossible. But it is happening anyway. As the fifth pod launched, carrying Valari families who sang crystalline songs of gratitude, Yunji made another discovery that changed everything. Captain, she said, her voice filled with awe, I do not think this is just about quantum resonance anymore. I think we are dealing with something much larger. What do you mean? I think consciousness itself can affect physical reality under extreme conditions. When enough beings, human and Valari, focus their will on saving lives, the universe responds. The laws of physics become flexible. Minho looked around at his crew who were working beyond exhaustion to save people they had never met. He looked at the Valari refugees, whose crystalline bodies glowed with hope and gratitude. He thought about the Threnody, watching from a safe distance, unable to understand why anyone would risk everything for strangers. Maybe the universe has been waiting for someone crazy. Enough to try, he said. The sixth pod was almost ready to launch when the dying star entered its final phase. Solar flares reached out like hungry fingers, and the remaining mining stations shuddered under the assault. We need to go now, Vexhai reported urgently. The star is beginning its final collapse. Only one station remained. Station Prime, where Vexhai and the last 200,000 Valari waited for rescue. But there was a problem. The final evacuation pod could only hold 150,000 beings, and someone would have to stay behind to operate the station's systems until the last moment. I will remain, Vexhai said simply, as will 4999 volunteers. We will ensure that everyone else escapes safely. No, Minho said firmly. Nobody gets left behind. Not on my watch. But with less than 2 hours until the star exploded, it seemed like some choices were inevitable. The Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Valari system, and the crew immediately understood why the Threnody Empire had refused to help. The star at the center of the system was dying in the most violent way possible. Massive solar flares reached out like angry arms, cooking everything in their path. The inner planets were already gone, turned to molten rock by the increasing heat. Only the outer planets remained, and they would not last much longer. My God, whispered Yunji Nam as she stared at the sensor readings. The energy output is incredible. That star is going to explode within the next 15 hours. Captain Minho Yoon felt his stomach drop. They had hoped for at least 20 hours to conduct rescue operations. 15 hours was barely enough time for one evacuation run, let alone the multiple trips they would need. Jaemin, can you establish contact with the Valari stations? Minho asked. The communications officer worked frantically at his console. I am trying, sir. The solar interference is making it difficult. Wait, I am getting something. The main screen flickered to life, showing a fuzzy image that slowly cleared. The bridge crew fell silent as they got their first look at an alien being. The Valari looked like a cross between an insect and a living crystal. Their bodies were covered in shimmering, translucent plates that seemed to catch and reflect light in beautiful patterns. They had 4 arms, 2 legs, and large eyes that glowed with inner light. "This is Prime Coordinator Vexhai of Valari Station Prime," the alien said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "Who are you? Your ship design is unknown to us." Hyunwoo Kim stepped forward, his hands shaking as he activated the translation protocols he had prepared. "This is the Earth ship Indomitable. We received your distress signal. We have come to help." The alien's glowing eyes widened in surprise. "Earth? We have no record of your species in our databases. You are not allied with the Threnody Empire." "No," Minho said, taking over the conversation. "We are not allied with anyone. We are humans from the planet Earth. We heard your call for help and we came." Vexhai was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with wonder. "You came to help beings you have never met? From a species you know nothing about?" "Yes," Minho replied simply, "but why?" "You gain nothing from this. You risk your lives for strangers." Minho looked around at his crew. How could he explain the human instinct to help others even at great personal cost? How could he make an alien understand something that even humans sometimes found hard to explain? "Because it is the right thing to do," he said finally. Vexhai's crystalline plates shimmered with what might have been emotion. "The Threnody abandoned us. They said we were acceptable losses. They said the risk was too great for beings of our inferior genetics." The anger in the alien's voice was clear even through the translation system. Jun-Suk Wang clenched his fists. He had worked with mining crews where some people were considered more valuable than others. He hated that attitude, whether it came from humans or aliens. "How many people do you have on the stations?" Minho asked. 2.3 million across 6 mining platforms, Vexhai replied. "Most are civilians, families of the miners, including 800,000 young ones." Yoonji ran quick calculations. "Captain, our cargo bays can hold maybe 50,000 beings per trip, assuming they are roughly human-sized. To save everyone, we would need 6 round trips." "How long for each round trip?" Minho asked. 2 hours, maybe 3 if we push the engines," Yoonji replied. "But sir, that means we would need at least 18 hours total. We only have 15 before the star explodes." The bridge fell silent. The math was brutal and unforgiving. They could save some of the Valari, but not all of them. Someone would have to be left behind. "Prime Coordinator," Minho said carefully, "we need to discuss evacuation priorities. We cannot save everyone in the time we have available." Vexhai's image flickered as another solar flare interfered with communications. "Save the young ones first," he said without hesitation. "The adults have lived our lives. The children deserve a chance at theirs." Minho felt his chest tighten. This alien leader was willing to sacrifice himself and other adults to save the children. It was exactly what a human leader would say in the same situation. "We will save as many as we can," Minho promised. "But I want you to know, we are not giving up on anyone." "We will find a way." "How?" Vexhai asked. "Your ship cannot hold 2.3 million beings." Minho looked at his senior staff. An idea was forming in his mind, but it was so dangerous he could barely bring himself to think it. "What if we use the Indomitable itself as an evacuation ship?" he said slowly. "Strip out everything we do not need. Use every compartment, every storage space. Turn the entire ship into a refugee transport." Tae-Kyung Shin, the chief engineer, looked horrified. "Captain, that would mean gutting our ship. We would lose life support redundancy, navigation backup systems, emergency supplies. If anything went wrong, we would all die together," Minho finished. "I know." "There is another problem," Yoonji said quietly. "Even if we turn the entire ship into a refugee transport, we still could not carry 2.3 million beings. Maybe 300,000 if we packed them in like cargo. The numbers were still impossible. No matter how they calculated it, there was no way to save everyone." "Then we make multiple ships," Changmin Kim said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at the young ensign. "We take the Indomitable apart and turn the pieces into smaller evacuation vessels." "That is insane," Tae-Kyung said. "We cannot just break apart a starship and expect the pieces to fly." "Why not?" Changmin asked. "Each section of the ship has its own life support. The cargo bays have their own power systems. If we add small engines to each section..." "You are talking about sacrificing our ship," Minho said. "Once we break it apart, we could never put it back together. We would be stranded in this system." "Better than leaving 2 million people to die," Changmin replied. Jun-Suk nodded slowly. "The kid has a point. I have worked on mining ships that were basically just cargo pods with engines. If we strip this ship down to its basic components, We could create 6 or 7 independent evacuation pods, Yoonji said, her scientific mind starting to work on the problem. Each one powered by a piece of our fusion reactor. Minho felt his heart racing. What they were discussing was technical suicide. They would be destroying their only way home on the slim chance that they could save alien lives. Sir, Jamin said from his station, I am receiving another transmission from HFY. The alien leader appeared on screen again, his crystalline features more serious than before. Human Captain Minho, we have been monitoring your discussions. We cannot ask you to sacrifice your ship for us. You are not asking, Minho replied. We are offering, but you would be stranded here. You would die with us when the star explodes. Minho smiled grimly. Maybe. Or maybe we will figure out a way to escape. Humans are pretty good at doing impossible things. HFY's plates shimmered again. Your species is remarkable. We have never encountered beings willing to risk so much for others. Then you have not met the right people, Minho said. Give us 6 hours to prepare. We are going to try something that has never been done before. As the connection ended, Minho looked around at his crew. They were about to attempt something that violated every principle of spaceship design and operation. They were going to tear apart their vessel and turn it into a fleet of makeshift rescue ships. It was crazy. It was impossible. It was exactly the kind of thing humans did when the universe said something could not be done. Captain Min Ho Yoon stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, staring at the orders on his screen. He had read them 5 times, but they still did not make sense. Launch immediately for an alien star system, attempt to rescue unknown life forms, risk everything on humanity's first contact with another species. Sir? Lieutenant Yoonji Nam, the ship's physicist, looked at him with worried eyes. Are the orders real? Minho nodded slowly. As real as anything can be. We are going to try to save aliens from a dying star. The bridge crew exchanged glances. They had trained for exploration missions, scientific surveys, and maybe some asteroid mining. Nobody had prepared them for a rescue mission to save beings they had never seen. How much time do we have? Asked Jun Suk Wang, the ship's mining specialist. He was a tough man who had spent years working in the asteroid belts, but even he looked nervous. 60 hours to reach their system, Minho replied. Then maybe 12 hours to get everyone loaded before their sun explodes. That is cutting it very close, Yoonji said, running quick calculations on her tablet. We will have to push the fusion drives harder than they were designed for. Minho walked to the main display screen, which showed a map of local space. The Valari system was a tiny dot at the edge of their range. It might as well have been on the other side of the universe. I will not lie to any of you, he said to his crew. This mission is dangerous. We do not know if these aliens are friendly. We do not know if their biology is compatible with our ship systems. We do not even know if we can communicate with them properly. He paused, looking at each face on the bridge. These were good people, volunteers who had signed up to explore the stars. They did not deserve to die in some alien system, trying to save creatures they had never met. Anyone who wants to transfer off this ship can do so now, Minho continued. I will not think less of anyone who chooses to stay behind. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Then Junsuk spoke up. Captain, I spent 10 years mining rocks in space. Most of the time it was just me in the emptiness. I always wondered if there was anyone else out there. He smiled grimly. Now I know there is. I am not missing this for anything. One by one, the other crew members nodded their agreement. Yoonji adjusted her calculations for maximum engine output. The communications officer, Jamin Oh, began preparing translation protocols. Everyone moved with quiet determination. Down in the medical bay, Dr. Sujin Kang was having her own crisis. She had no idea what alien biology might look like. How do you prepare to treat patients when you do not know if they have blood, bones, or anything resembling human anatomy? I guess we start with the basics, she muttered to herself, gathering supplies. Oxygen, water, basic nutrients. If they breathe something else or eat something toxic to us, we will figure it out when we get there. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Secretary General Young Hee Lim was dealing with a different kind of crisis. News of the alien signal had leaked to the media. Every television station and internet site was running wild stories about invasion fleets and first contact protocols. Madam Secretary, her aide said nervously, the Chinese ambassador is asking why Korea gets to make first contact. The Americans want to know why we did not consult NATO. And the Russians are demanding to send their own ship. Young Hee rubbed her temples. Tell them we do not have time for politics. Tell them the Valari will be dead in 3 days if we do not act now. Tell them they can argue about jurisdiction after we save some lives. Her aide looked doubtful. I do not think they will accept that answer. Then tell them this, Young-hee said firmly. Korea discovered the signal. Korea has the only ship ready for deep space missions, and Korea is going to do what is right, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Back on the Indomitable, Hyun-woo Kim had been brought aboard as an emergency translator. He sat in the communications room with Yemin, trying to prepare for conversations with beings they knew nothing about. The mathematics in their distress call was clear, Hyun-woo explained. They use base 12 counting, which suggests they might have 6 fingers on each hand. Their time measurements are different from ours, but we can convert them. What about language? Jamin asked. How do we talk to them? We start with pictures and numbers, Hyun-woo replied. Universal concepts like physics and chemistry. If they are smart enough to build space stations, they understand the same scientific principles we do. As the Indomitable prepared for launch, more volunteers kept arriving. Engineers, doctors, linguists, and even some military personnel who wanted to be part of humanity's first rescue mission. The ship was designed for a crew of 200, but more than 300 people had volunteered. We cannot take everyone, Min-ho told his senior staff. We need to save space and wait for the refugees. Sir, said Changmin Kim, a young ensign fresh from the academy. What if some of us stay behind on the alien stations? To help with the evacuation? We could make more room on the ship for refugees. The senior officers stared at him. What he was suggesting was essentially a suicide mission. If they stayed behind to help load civilians, they would not make it back to the ship before the star exploded. That is very brave, Min-ho said carefully, but I cannot ask anyone to do that. You are not asking, Changmin replied. I am volunteering, and I know others will too. Min-ho felt a heavy weight in his chest. These young people were willing to die for aliens they had never met. It was either the most noble thing he had ever seen or the most foolish. We will discuss that option when we get there, he said finally. Right now, let us focus on reaching the Valari system alive. The launch came sooner than anyone expected. Political pressure from other nations was mounting, and Secretary General Young-hee decided to send the ship before anyone could stop them. Indomitable, you are cleared for departure, came the voice from Mission Control. Good luck, and may you bring honor to all humanity. Min-ho felt the fusion drives ignite beneath him. The ship accelerated smoothly away from Earth, heading for a star system where millions of beings were counting down their final hours. Time to destination? He asked. 59 hours, 37 minutes, Yoon-ji replied. Assuming everything goes perfectly, Min-ho smiled grimly. In his experience, nothing ever went perfectly. But sometimes, if you were very lucky and very determined, you could make the impossible happen anyway. Behind them, Earth shrank to a tiny blue dot. Ahead lay the unknown, and the slim chance of saving lives that mattered just as much as human ones. Dr. Hyun-woo Kim rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the computer screen. He had been working at the Seoul Deep Space Communication Array for 12 hours straight. Most days his job was boring. He listened to empty space, hoping to find something interesting among the radio waves and cosmic noise. But today was different. A strange pattern kept appearing in the data. At first, Hyun-woo thought his equipment was broken. The signal was too organized, too purposeful to be natural. He ran the data through every filter and test he could think of. Each time, the same result came back. This was not random noise from space. This was a message. Hyun-woo's hands shook as he called his boss. Ji-yeon Park, the facility director, arrived 20 minutes later with coffee and worried eyes. She was a practical woman who did not get excited easily. But when Hyun-woo showed her the data, her coffee cup hit the floor. Are you sure about this? Ji-yeon asked, her voice barely a whisper. I have checked it 50 times, Hyun-woo replied. This is definitely artificial. Someone or something sent this message. They worked together for the next 6 hours, breaking down the signal piece by piece. What they found made their hearts race. The message was not random at all. It had structure, mathematics, and what looked like star charts. More importantly, it was not meant for Earth. The signal was a distress call. Hyun-woo managed to decode parts of the message using basic mathematical principles. The beings who sent it called themselves the Valari. They were asking for help from someone called the Threnody Empire. Their son was dying and they needed evacuation ships immediately. Look at these numbers, Hyunwoo said, pointing at his screen. They have 2.3 million people trapped on mining stations around their outer planets. And this timestamp here, if I am reading it correctly, they only have 72 hours before their sun explodes. Ji-un stared at the coordinates in the message. The Valari system was far away, but not impossibly far. With Earth's newest fusion drives, a ship could reach them in about 60 hours. The math was tight, but it could work. We need to call the government, Ji-un said. This is way above our level. Within an hour, their small control room was filled with important people. Dae-ho Lee, a military liaison, studied the data with suspicious eyes. So Young Choi, a young engineer from the space program, frantically ran calculations on her tablet. Government officials made phone calls in hushed voices. This could be a trap, Dae-ho said. We know nothing about these aliens. For all we know, this could be bait to lure our ships into an ambush. Or it could be exactly what it looks like, So Young replied. A desperate call for help from people who are about to die. People? Dae-ho laughed bitterly. These are not people. These are aliens. We do not know anything about them. We do not know if they are friendly or hostile. We do not even know if they look like us. Hyunwoo felt frustrated. While they argued, millions of beings were counting down their final hours. Does it matter what they look like? He asked. They are going to die if no one helps them. It is not our problem, Dae-ho said firmly. Humanity has enough troubles without getting involved in alien wars. This is not a war, So Young said, waving her tablet. Look at my calculations. Their sun is going supernova. This is a natural disaster, not a conflict. Ji-un watched the argument with growing concern. She had spent her career listening to empty space, dreaming of the day humanity would find proof of other intelligent life. Now that moment had arrived, and all anyone could do was argue about politics and safety. There is something else, Hyunwoo said quietly. The room fell silent. I intercepted another message 30 minutes ago. It was the Threnody Empire's response to the Valari distress call. Everyone leaned forward. They said no, Hyunwoo continued. The Threnody said the distance was too great and the risk too high. They called the Valari genetically inferior and said their loss was acceptable. The room erupted in shocked voices. So Young looked sick. They are abandoning them? Their own allies. It appears so, Hyunwoo said. The Valari sent one final message after that. They said they understood and would face their fate with dignity. They thanked the Threnody for the years of friendship. Dae-ho shook his head. This proves my point. If their own allies will not help them, why should we risk our necks? Because we can, So Young said, her voice growing stronger. Look at these numbers. The UES Indomitable is ready for deep space missions. It has the range, the speed, and the cargo capacity. We could save some of them. Some of them, Dae-ho repeated. You said it yourself, 2.3 million beings. How many could one ship carry? So Young looked down at her calculations. Maybe 50,000 per trip. If we made multiple runs would take too long, Ji-un said gently. By the time the ship came back for a second load, the star would have exploded. The room fell quiet again. The weight of the situation pressed down on everyone. Somewhere in space, millions of intelligent beings were preparing to die. Earth had the technology to help, but not enough to save them all. We could try, Hyunwoo said finally. We could save who we can, and risk our only deep space vessel? Dae-ho asked. Risk 200 human lives for aliens we know nothing about? Risk 200 human lives to save 50,000 innocent beings, So Young corrected. That sounds like pretty good math to me. Dae-ho looked around the room. You are all crazy. Completely insane. But Ji-un was already reaching for her phone. I need to speak with Captain Min-ho-yoon, she said. And patch me through to Secretary General Young-hee Lim. We have a decision to make. As the adults argued about politics and risks, Hyunwoo turned back to his monitors. The Valari signals were getting weaker. Time was running out for people he had never met in a place he had never seen. People who did not even know Earth existed. But somehow, that made helping them feel even more important. Outside, the sun was setting over Seoul. In a few hours, it would rise again, just like it had for billions of years. The Valari would not be so lucky. Their sun would never rise again, unless humanity decided to do something impossible. Captain Min-ho-yoon stared at the final evacuation numbers, refusing to accept what everyone else could see clearly. The math was brutal. 200,000 Valari remained on Station Prime, But the last evacuation pod could only hold 150,000. Someone had to stay behind. There has to be another way, Minho said for the 10th time in the past hour. Captain, HFY's voice came through the communication system. We have accepted our fate. Save who you can. Do not let our sacrifice be meaningless. But Jun-Suk Wang was studying the problem from a different angle. The tough mining specialist had spent years moving massive amounts of cargo through space, and he knew there were always creative solutions. What if we do not use the evacuation pod at all? He said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. Explain, Minho ordered. We still have the main hull of the Indomitable, Jun-Suk said. We stripped out the cargo bays and other sections, but the basic framework is still intact. What if we turn the entire remaining ship into one giant evacuation vessel? Tae-Kyung-shin looked horrified. Jun-Suk, that would mean removing life support barriers, tearing out bulkheads, eliminating safety systems. The ship would become one big open space with no backup anything. Exactly, Jun-Suk replied. No wasted space for corridors or separate compartments. Just one massive cargo hold that could fit everyone. It would be a death trap, Tae-Kyung protested. If anything went wrong, everyone would die instantly. As opposed to definitely dying when the star explodes? Jun-Suk asked grimly. Minho felt the weight of command pressing down on him. What Jun-Suk was suggesting meant gutting their ship so completely that it would barely qualify as a spacecraft anymore. They would be flying a hollow shell through space, hoping it held together long enough to reach safety. How long would the conversion take? He asked. 6 hours with our crew, Tae-Kyung estimated. But sir, I cannot guarantee the structural integrity. We would be flying on hope and luck. Then we better start now, Minho decided. And hope we have enough of both. The work began immediately, but this time it was different. Word of the human plan spread through the Velari stations, and something remarkable happened. Thousands of Velari engineers volunteered to help, even though it meant risking their lives on a ship that might fall apart at any moment. Changmin Kim found himself working alongside Kritheks again, but now they were joined by dozens of other Velari. The language barrier had largely disappeared. They communicated through gestures, shared tools, and mutual determination. Your people are crazy, Kritheks told Changmin as they removed another bulkhead. His translation device made his words sound amused rather than critical. Yeah, we get that a lot, Changmin replied, grinning as he helped lift a heavy panel. Your people are pretty crazy too, volunteering to fly in this thing. We learned from watching you, Kritheks said. Sometimes crazy is the only way to do impossible things. Meanwhile, Dr. Sujin Kang was making preparations for the most dangerous medical situation she had ever faced. If something went wrong during the evacuation, she would be treating 200,000 patients in a ship with no medical facilities. I am setting up field hospitals using the emergency supplies, she reported to Minho. But Captain, if we lose life support integrity, then we all die together, Minho finished. I know, Doctor, but we also might all live together. Those are better odds than leaving 50,000 people behind. As the Indomitable was gutted and converted, the Threnody observation ships moved closer. They had been monitoring human communications and could not believe what they were hearing. They are destroying their own vessel to save aliens, reported Commander Zaltek to his superiors. The ship they are creating violates every principle of safe spacecraft design. And they expect it to work? Came the reply from the Threnody home fleet. Apparently, yes, sir. The humans seem to believe that determination and cooperation can overcome physical limitations. Ridiculous. Monitor their failure and prepare to recover any useful technology from the wreckage. But something the Threnody did not understand was happening aboard the converted Indomitable. As humans and Velari worked together, sharing tools and solving problems as a team, the quantum resonance effect that Yunji had discovered was growing stronger. The Velari workers were not just glowing now. They were practically blazing with bioluminescent energy. Their crystalline plates were resonating in harmony, creating energy fields that seemed to strengthen the ship's modified structure. Captain, Yunji reported excitedly, the quantum resonance is affecting the molecular bonds in our hull plating. The ship is actually becoming stronger as we work together. That is impossible, Tae-Kyung protested, even as he watched his instruments confirm what Yunji was saying. So was everything else we have done today, Minho replied. I am starting to think impossible is just another word for something nobody has tried hard enough to do. With 2 hours remaining before the star's explosion, The conversion was complete. The Indomitable had been transformed from a sleek exploration vessel into something that looked like a giant flying warehouse. Most of the interior walls were gone, replaced by a vast open space filled with emergency life support stations. "She is not pretty," Jun-suk admitted, "but she will hold everyone." The final evacuation began. Valari families streamed aboard the converted ship, carrying whatever belongings they could manage. Children clutched crystalline toys that glowed with inner light. Adults helped elderly members who moved slowly on legs weakened by low gravity. HFY was among the last to board. As the station's leader, he insisted on personally ensuring that everyone else was safely aboard before he left his post. "The evacuation is complete," he finally reported. 200,000 souls aboard your vessel, Captain Minho. Welcome aboard the... Well, I guess we cannot call it the Indomitable anymore, Minho said. "Any suggestions for a new name?" HFY's crystalline plates shimmered with what might have been amusement. "How about Hope? That seems to be what your species runs on." "Hope it is," Minho agreed. But as they prepared to depart Station Prime, alarms began blaring throughout the converted ship. The dying star was entering its final collapse ahead of schedule. "Captain," Dong-hyun called from the pilot station. "The star is destabilizing faster than predicted. We have maybe 30 minutes before it goes supernova. Can we reach minimum safe distance in 30 minutes? Minho asked. Yoonji ran frantic calculations. "Not with this ship configuration. We are carrying too much mass and our engines are not designed for this load." The bridge fell silent. After everything they had done, after all the impossible things they had accomplished, they were going to be caught in the explosion anyway. "There is one option," Do Yeon-hong, the structural engineer, said quietly. "We could jettison the remaining ship sections. The command bridge, engine room, life support core. Turn those into smaller escape pods. And leave 200,000 people in an uncontrolled ship?" Minho asked. "Better than leaving them to die in a supernova," Do-yeon replied. Chang-min looked at Krithex, who had stayed by his side throughout the conversion. The young Valari's plates were pulsing with determination. "There is another way," Chang-min said suddenly. "What if some of us stay behind to pilot the ship manually? Guide it to safety while the command crew escapes in the pods? That is suicide," Tae-kyung said flatly. "Maybe," Chang-min replied. "Or maybe it is what heroes do." Krithex stepped forward. "If Chang-min stays, I stay too. We work well together." One by one, other crew members began volunteering. Engineers, pilots, even Dr. Soo-jin, who insisted the refugees would need medical care during the journey. "You are all insane," Minho said, but his voice was filled with pride rather than anger. "We learned from the best," Jun-suk replied with a grin. As the dying star began its final, violent collapse, 12 humans and 30 Valari prepared to guide a ship full of refugees to safety, knowing they would probably not survive the journey themselves. Outside, the Threnody observation ships watched in amazement as the impossible once again became merely improbable.